Orcas, or killer whales, are formidable predators in the marine ecosystem. While rare in the wild, human encounters with captive orcas have led to multiple non-fatal injuries and 4 tragic deaths since the 1970s. The debate continues over whether these incidents result from accidental circumstances or intentional aggression, fueling discussions on orca captivity and care practices. In 2013, the Zendelbach family eagerly anticipated their summer trip to the charming town of Westport, Washington. Nature enthusiasts Arvin and Myrna Zendelbach and their teenage kids Kellen and Sienna were thrilled to explore the Pacific Northwest's stunning landscapes. They looked forward to immersing themselves in the region's craggy coastlines, lush forests, and rich array of sea life. This adventure promised a break from their routine and a deeper connection with the raw beauty of nature, making memories that would last a lifetime. The family was excitedly overwhelmed after moving into their quaint rental cabin by the sea. 16-year-old Kellen had already compiled a list of local trails and aquatic adventures, while 13-year-old Sienna, enchanted by a documentary, was eager to see whales in the wild. This vacation promised unforgettable experiences for all. During breakfast with pancakes and coffee, Arvin excitedly announced he had planned a whale-watching tour, much to Sienna's delight. On the day of the expedition, they boarded the Cetacean Explorer, captained by the seasoned Caspian Halverson and his experienced crew, adding a special touch to the family's adventure. As the boat sailed into the open sea, the team highlighted different seabirds and sea creatures, enriching the passengers' understanding of the local marine ecosystem. Sienna especially was captivated, eagerly looking out for whales on the horizon. After a period filled with eager anticipation, a crew member excitedly proclaimed the sighting of orcas on the starboard side. The family and other tourists hurried to see, mesmerized by the sight of the orcas as they elegantly moved through the water near the boat. Caspian skillfully steered the boat to allow a closer look while maintaining a respectful distance, a decision that seemed to intrigue the orcas, who began to swim close to and around the boat playfully. However, the mood shifted when the orcas started to display erratic behavior, encircling the ship in what appeared to be an attempt to hurt it. Caspian quickly noticed the change and decided to return to shore. Yet the orcas became more aggressive as the engine started, forcefully hitting the boat's hull. The unexpected violence threw the passengers into a state of alarm, as Caspian and his crew tried to navigate away safely, employing emergency measures. Arvin, leveraging his background as a marine biologist, attempted to stay composed, remembering similar accounts of orcas acting aggressively when feeling threatened, especially in defense of their territory or young. Despite efforts to deter them with air horns and flares, the boat continued to be harassed by the relentless orcas. Amidst the turmoil, Sienna spotted a disturbing sight, an oily substance contaminating the water. Her observation made the family understand that the orcas were likely aggravated due to their habitat being polluted by an oil spill, possibly due to a recent shipping incident or drilling error. Realizing the dire situation, Arvin recognized the orcas' aggression would stem from the distress over their contaminated environment and jeopardized food supply. This revelation spurred the Zendelbachs and the crew to swiftly secure everything on board, bracing themselves against the orcas' continued aggressive behavior. Caspian urgently signaled for help, hoping rescuers would arrive before their crisis worsened. The orcas, motivated by a deep-seated urge to safeguard their domain and young, maintained their aggressive behavior. The boat tossed wildly, causing passengers to grasp at anything they could, their hands clenched in terror. Abruptly, a towering wave swept across the front of the vessel, soaking the deck and sending water rushing toward those on board. Instinctively, Kellen shoved his sister to safety, absorbing most of the force himself. Witnessing her brother being carried away by the violent waves, Sienna was paralyzed by fear. Despite her urge to jump in after him, Arvin restrained her, aware of the danger the nearby hostile orcas posed. The ensuing moments were filled with panic and urgency. The crew initiated a search and rescue effort, deploying a lifeboat and combing the sea for Kellen. Myrna and Sienna clung to each other, hoping for his safe return. Just when it seemed all was lost, a shout was heard. Kellen had been found frantically signaling for help while clinging to driftwood. The rescue team hastened towards him, overwhelmed by relief and excitement. Once Kellen was safely on board the lifeboat, the orcas mysteriously withdrew, their hostility vanishing as swiftly as it had appeared. The family reunited with Kellen, their tears reflecting both joy and thanks. Following this event, authorities investigated the oil spill, pledging to pursue justice against those behind the ecological catastrophe that had nearly cost lives. The Zendelbachs, though shaken, were thankful to be alive and chose to end their vacation early to head home. This incident profoundly affected them, highlighting the delicate interplay between humans and the environment, and our actions' impact on the world. Departing Westport, Sienna looked thoughtfully out the window, her mind on the splendid orcas and the polluted waters that had endangered them. She silently committed herself to environmental protection and the preservation of wildlife, determined to prevent similar disasters. While the incident was terrifying, it ignited a profound respect for the natural world within the Zendelbach family. The ordeal left them emotional scars, but these wounds became lasting reminders of the urgent need to protect our planet's fragile ecosystems. Their harrowing experience transformed their perspectives, instilling a deep commitment to environmental stewardship. The family vowed to advocate for preserving nature, understanding that their encounter was a stark lesson in the delicate balance of the world's ecosystems. This newfound mission to safeguard the environment became a cornerstone of their lives, inspiring them to make sustainable choices and educate others about respecting and protecting the natural world. Within the dense confines of the Amazon rainforest, a group of dedicated environmental scientists embarked on an expedition that tested their limits and exposed them to the untamed forces of nature. Led by the seasoned researcher Zaira Delgado, the team pursued an investigation into the devastating effects of deforestation on the area's fragile ecosystems. Their mission was a scientific endeavor and a passionate quest to uncover the truth and find solutions to preserve one of the planet's most vital and endangered habitats. This journey into the heart of the Amazon promised to challenge their expertise and fortitude, pushing them to new heights of discovery and understanding. The squad was composed of skilled individuals: Jackson Vargas, a keen botanist; Ivane Castillo, a capable zoologist; and Maktub Salazar, an adept field guide. Unified in their dedication to preserving nature, they researched and devised ways to avert the approaching ecological catastrophe. Their journey commenced from the lively metropolis of Manaus, where they collected their gear and made their way into the expanse of the jungle. Their mode of transport was a modest riverboat, which they used to navigate the Amazon's intricate river network, filled with excitement and caution. The early stages of their exploration went smoothly, as they diligently documented the diverse plant and animal life and the negative impact of deforestation on the ecosystem. Jackson immersed himself in the study of plant diversity, while Ivane concentrated on the local fauna's behavioral patterns. Yet their tranquil research was suddenly interrupted when they encountered a problem. Their boat became lodged on a sandbank within a narrow, mud-clogged river. Upon disembarking to assess the situation, they discovered signs that hinted at the presence of a giant reptile, massive footprints and distinct scratches on the riverbank. Maktub, drawing from his wealth of experience, identified these signs as belonging to a crocodile. Not just any, but a particularly large one. Although the team was aware of Cayman's Amazonian crocodilian predators, the realization of encountering such a sizable one had yet to be anticipated. As they tried to extricate the boat, a palpable tension gripped them, their senses heightened for any sign of the predatory beast lurking in the dim waters or the dense foliage. As days passed, the research team pressed on with their studies, always looking for any signs of disturbance in their environment. Ivane, the scientist known for her thoroughness, was adamant about gathering water samples from different streams, which led them further into the dense rainforest, right into the territory of a gigantic crocodile. On one of these trips, something unimaginable occurred. While Ivane was meticulously collecting water in her vials at the riverbank, a sudden noise from the bushes caught everyone off guard. In an instant, a vast, scaly creature emerged, snapping its powerful jaws just inches away from Ivane's face. The crocodile, a massive creature of teeth and muscle, made its presence known, aggressively defending its home with a ferocity that sent shivers down everyone's spine. In a quick response, Jackson threw a rock at the animal, distracting it briefly and allowing Yvain to escape to safety. Following this encounter, it seemed as if the crocodile constantly shadowed them, its ominous presence always felt. This forced the team to give up their research and prioritize survival, navigating the dangerous landscape while avoiding the ever-persistent predator. Zaira, equipped with her extensive knowledge, devised a strategy to escape the crocodile's territory and find their way back to civilization. They decided to follow the river, using their understanding of the land and the stars for navigation. At night, gathered around their fire, the crocodile's eerie cries would resound in the darkness, a grim reminder of the peril always nearby. Maktub would occupy their minds with stories of the Amazon's most formidable predators, his narratives both engaging and dread-inducing. Weeks passed as they navigated the harsh jungle, their resources running low and their bodies weary from the relentless journey. Yet the crocodile persisted, occasionally seen in the water or through the thickets. One morning, as the team was about to move out, the crocodile attacked with unexpected brutality, catching Jackson, who had strayed too far off guard. He found himself staring into the enormous reptile's gaping mouth, its eyes fixed on him. Jackson stumbled back in a frantic attempt to evade the creature, missing the crocodile's first assault. But the beast was determined, propelling itself forward with a scary velocity. As Jackson struggled to get away, the rest of the team came to his rescue, throwing stones and makeshift weapons in a frantic effort to divert the crocodile. The ordeal was intense, with the team giving their all in defense against a fierce predator. With determination blazing in her eyes, Yvain successfully threw a rock that hit the crocodile, stunning it briefly and allowing Jackson to break free from its grip. Despite being tired and injured, their narrow escape from death bolstered the team's spirits. They realized that their best chance of survival was to make their way back, and with every step they took, the burden of their experience seemed to grow. At last, after what felt like forever, they made their way out of the thick jungle, blinking against the glaring sun. A small village greeted them, its modest houses a sight for sore eyes after their dangerous adventure. Sharing their story with the villagers, they were met with looks of both amazement and skepticism. The villagers told them about the fabled Rio del Miedo, or River of Fear, home to a giant crocodile known for claiming the lives of the unwary, adding a legendary twist to their tale. Having survived an encounter with one of the most fearsome creatures in nature, the team had also uncovered a hidden chapter of the Amazon's lore. As they took the time to recover, they realized that their journey had gained a deeper purpose: to highlight the crucial equilibrium between humanity and the natural environment, and to bring attention to the threats endangering this vital balance. In the following months and years, Zaira, Jackson, Yvain, and Maktub became outspoken champions of environmental preservation, leveraging their terrifying encounter as a compelling narrative to advocate for protecting the Amazon rainforest and its myriad inhabitants. Their experience was marked by fear, determination, and a profound respect for the natural forces that shape our existence. The memory of the massive caiman would forever haunt them, serving as a stark reminder of nature's raw power. Yet it also stood as a testament to life's remarkable strength and resilience, forces we must tirelessly work to safeguard. This encounter deepened their commitment to protecting the delicate balance of our ecosystems, reinforcing the need for relentless conservation efforts. The team emerged from their journey more committed, driven by the understanding that preserving nature's wonders is not just a duty, but a vital necessity for the future of our planet. In 2009, in Antarctica's vast icy realm, an endless stretch of cold beauty, Averick Gunnarsson and his wife Katrina embarked on an expedition to push their bravery and survival skills to the limit. Both were seasoned kayakers and nature lovers, and they had dreamed of navigating through the unexplored waters of the Earth's most southern land. Their adventure started at Vostok, a Russian research facility, where they had obtained the necessary permissions and supplies for their bold journey. With their kayaks prepared and spirits buoyed, they began their voyage into the expansive clear waters around the frozen continent. The initial days of their journey were profoundly stunning. Immense icebergs, carved by relentless winds and currents, stood majestically in their path, their blue and white hues mirroring the limitless sky above Antarctica. The couple enjoyed the isolation, with the sporadic call of a skua or the far-off spout of a whale as their only interruptions. Yet, as they delved further into this frosty world, an unsettling feeling started to take hold. The sea turned rougher, and the wind carried a colder, more cutting edge. While pausing on a small stony islet during one of their daily breaks, they encountered a creature that would soon become their most formidable challenge. A lean, strong shape emerged from the water, its mighty jaws grabbing at an unwary penguin too close to the surface. Katrina, recognizing the distinct patterns of a leopard seal, an apex predator in these icy seas known for its unmatched aggression, gasped in alarm. Averick, always prudent, quickly got his wife back into their kayaks, and they rapidly paddled away from the seal's territory. Unbeknownst to them, this was just the start of an intense ordeal challenging their courage and desire to persevere. As time passed, the duo pressed forward through a labyrinth of ice formations and dangerous waters. Yet they couldn't escape the feeling of being relentlessly pursued, as if an invisible hunter stalked them from the depths of the icy ocean. Their unease turned into terror when the leopard seal emerged again, its immense form slicing through the waters with alarmingly rapid movements. This time it set its sights directly on the kayakers, signaling a clear threat. They had unknowingly invaded its territory, and it was ready to defend its home fiercely. The seal's first assault came swiftly and without mercy, striking Averick's kayak with enough force almost to overturn it. Katrina's cries echoed in the cold air, a harsh reminder of the peril they had unwittingly become part of. They were no longer just adventurers in the Arctic expanse. They had become the hunted. In a moment of quick thinking, Averick grabbed and fired the flare gun, hoping the sudden light and noise would scare the predator away. Initially, it seemed to retreat, shocked by the flare. However, the relief was fleeting. Driven by instinct, the seal resumed its aggressive behavior, encircling the kayakers and making sharp, menacing dives at them, its teeth dangerously close. Exerting all their strength, Averick and Katrina paddled fervently, aiming for the comparative safety of their base camp on the Antarctic coast. However, as they advanced, the seal's attacks became more frequent and ferocious. They disappeared into the water only to emerge unexpectedly, launching powerful attacks on their kayaks. As the sunlight waned, casting ominous shadows over the ice, they desperately struggled against time, their resources running low and the cold draining their vitality. In a last-ditch effort, Katrina used the flare gun again, hoping to scare off the seal. But the outcome was the opposite of what they hoped for. The noise and light only angered the seal further, prompting it to attack with increased vigor. Averick, thinking quickly, threw their emergency beacon as far away as possible, hoping to distract the seal and give them a chance to escape. This strategy offered them a brief respite as the seal chased after the beacon, momentarily diverting its focus from them. Grasping their chance, Averick and Katrina put all their strength into paddling, their muscles burning with the effort as they aimed for the far-off shore. When they finally thought they had reached the haven of their base camp, the seal surged from the water again, its unyielding chase pressing them to their physical limits. In a final act of desperation, Averick seized the emergency flare gun again and shot a dazzling flare toward the seal's eyes, momentarily blinding the furious creature. This strategy succeeded, and the dazed seal withdrew, plunging below the cold waves as Averick and Katrina made it to the rocky embrace of the base camp. Worn out and deeply shaken, they fell onto the frozen terrain, their pulses racing and their bodies quivering after the ordeal they had just survived. Over the following days and weeks, their dramatic survival story against one of nature's fiercest predators circulated rapidly among the Antarctic research circles. Their courage and swift action not only preserved their lives, but also highlighted the aggressive territorial behavior of leopard seals and underlined the need to honor the fragile ecosystems they inhabit. For Averick and Katrina, the ordeal was a profound lesson in nature's awe-inspiring force. They had confronted their utmost fears directly and prevailed. Their relationship solidified through the ordeal, as did their increased reverence for the creatures dwelling in the planet's most isolated and harsh landscapes. As they got ready for their return home, they understood that the memory of their brush with the leopard seal would be permanently ingrained in their minds, a tribute to the enduring will of life and the tenacity of those brave enough to explore the vast unknown. Within the majestic Caribbean Sea's blue realms, where the sunlit turquoise waves sparkled, an incredible thrill and peril event attracted adventurers globally in 2014. Roatan, a picturesque island, hosted the esteemed International Spearfishing Tournament, which saw the world's most adept and brave divers converge. Among these was the experienced Carlos Acachi, leading a team with his close friends Matsimu and Zuberi. Known for their courage and expertise underwater, the trio, with Carlos hailing from the Marshall Islands, had dedicated their lives to mastering the ocean's secrets and building a profound connection with its wild, uncharted territories. As the tournament began, competitors from various regions dived into the clear waters, armed with spear guns and aiming for hidden treasures among the lively coral reefs. Yet, for Carlos and his team, the ambition was to capture their aquatic quarry and challenge the sea's most daunting creatures. The initial days saw exhilarating moments and narrow escapes as the divers weaved through the undersea landscapes, pursuing their targets with the skill of natural hunters. Carlos's group quickly proved a strong competitor. Their premium fish collection increased after each dive. However, the competition's fifth day presented the ultimate challenge, brought forth by an unexpected foe, a colossal swordfish. Its sleek form moved effortlessly through the sea, though its elegance belied its dangerous nature. Zuberi was the first to notice the giant's sword-like snout effortlessly slicing through the water. Initially struck by its size and grandeur, the team's fascination soon turned to alarm as they observed the swordfish's menacing demeanor. Suddenly accelerating, the swordfish launched at Carlos, its sharply pointed bill inches away from skewering him. Reacting on instinct, the experienced diver dodged, his heart racing as he grasped the peril they now encountered. It appeared the swordfish had marked them as threats to its domain, determined not to let these invaders off without a confrontation. As the formidable fish turned for another assault, Carlos gestured to his team, readying them to fend off this unforeseen adversary. The ensuing encounter was a nerve-wracking ballet of survival. The swordfish aggressively pursued the divers, propelling itself through the water with alarming pace and skill. Matsimu, equipped with his spear gun, tried to deter the creature, but his shots merely brushed its dense, armored skin. Understanding that their usual methods were ineffective, Carlos devised a bold maneuver. They planned to entice the swordfish from the contest zone further into the expansive sea, where they might leverage their superior agility. With rapid hand signals, the group set their plan in motion, moving swiftly into the abyss with the furious swordfish trailing closely. Descending, they felt the water's pressure build and their oxygen reserves depleted with every moment. In a peak of desperation, Zuberi fired a volley from his spear gun, aiming to impede the swordfish's progress and gain their valuable time. Yet the tenacious hunter continued its chase, driven by a primal urge to defend its territory at any cost. The struggle persisted, with the divers and the swordfish locked in fierce competition. The deep underscored their actions, the haunting silence punctuated only by the thrum of their heartbeats. At one juncture, Matsimu found himself face to face with the swordfish's open jaws, its razor-sharp teeth just inches from his mask. Fueled by the adrenaline rush, he jabbed with his spear gun, hitting the swordfish directly in the eye. The creature retreated from the pain, granting the divers a short pause as they made their way upwards, their chests heaving and their limbs aching from the effort. Emerging at the surface, they inhaled deeply, quickly recognizing the seriousness of their plight. Unfazed by its wound, the swordfish pursued them, its vast body emerging from the waves like a mythological beast. In a final act of desperation, Carlos instructed his team, and they headed for the closest stretch of rocky shore, their last chance to evade the swordfish's unyielding chase. They sensed the predator nearing with each paddle, its potent fins slicing the water with dread-inspiring velocity. Just as they reached the ledge's security, a swordfish launched a final catastrophic attack, its bill slicing through the water just inches from Zuberi's thigh. In a spontaneous move, Carlos threw his harpoon at the creature, hitting it directly in the flank and briefly distracting it. The divers clambered onto the stony outcrop as the swordfish writhed in agony. Their frames were worn, and their morale was jarred, yet their connection was more solid than ever. They had stood up against one of the ocean's most daunting hunters and triumphed, their story of endurance bound to be recounted as a mythical segment in the saga of spearfishing. Following their intense experience, the group bowed out of the contest, turning their attention from chasing fame to a deep appreciation for existence itself. Sharing their adventure with the captivated organizers and other contestants, they sparked an enhanced recognition of the oceanic creature's power and splendor. For Carlos, Matsimu, and Zuberi, the clash with the swordfish was a sobering reminder of the fragile equilibrium between humans and nature. They had dived into the abyss with the intent to dominate, only to find themselves overpowered by a force greater than their own. This encounter summoned both respect and awe, highlighting nature's might. In the mesmerizing blue waters of the Coral Triangle, where the boundless Pacific Ocean nurtures a vivid web of marine existence, a dedicated group of marine biologists set out on a journey in 2008 to explore the secrets veiled by the ocean depths. Their exploration was centered around the secluded Wakatobi archipelago in Indonesia, a venture deep into the core of one of the planet's most biologically diverse environments. Ananta Suryanarayana led the expedition. She is a veteran scientist whose lifelong fascination with the sea's mysteries has positioned her as a leading figure in coral reef conservation. She was accompanied by her esteemed colleagues, Kadita Ramaswamy and Jambavan Chandrasekhar, each characterized by a distinct set of skills and a shared commitment to protecting marine life. With the break of dawn painting the calm seas, the team equipped themselves with diving gear and embarked below the waves, eagerly anticipating the marvels ahead. Known for its extraordinary coral landscapes bursting with life, the Wakatobi archipelago attracts scholars and nature lovers worldwide due to its beauty and diversity. Over several days, the group rigorously documented the thriving ecosystems present within these waters. They gathered extensive data on the health of corals, monitored the varied fish populations, and studied the intricate interactions that supported this aquatic haven. Despite the challenges, their efforts were driven by a deep respect for nature and an earnest ambition to safeguard its delicate splendor for future eras to cherish. However, on the seventh day, their exploration took an unexpected, dramatic turn, testing their courage and resourcefulness to the utmost. While Kadita delicately retrieves samples from a particularly lush section of coral, she accidentally provokes a hidden nest of dangerously venomous sea snakes within the reef's crevices. In an instant, a snake launched forward, embedding its venomous fangs into her arm. Though her cries were lost in the water, the horror in Kadita's eyes spoke volumes, marking the beginning of a dire struggle for survival. Ananta and Jambavan quickly sprang into action, fueled by adrenaline and dread, as they grasped the dire nature of the situation before them. With agility and urgency, they lifted Kadita onto the deck of the research ship, their thoughts racing to remember the correct first aid response for snakebite poisoning. The criticality of time was evident as the deadly venom streamed through her bloodstream, posing a severe threat to her life. Ananta swiftly located the anti-venom package, her fingers shaking as she readied the crucial serum. However, a shocking realization struck them. The package had sustained damage, making the anti-venom ineffective. A deep sense of fear enveloped the group at that moment, realizing they were far from any medical help, on an isolated island with a severely poisoned team member and no way to use the anti-venom. Jambavan leaped to contact the mainland, but their remote location and limited gear presented insurmountable challenges. They were met with only static and silence, deepening the sense of solitude and urgency that overwhelmed them. As Kadita's health quickly worsened, Ananta and Jambavan tirelessly tried to stabilize her, applying pressure wraps and delivering whatever essential medical assistance they were able to. Yet as time went by, the venom's deadly impact became increasingly evident, and the possibility of losing their colleague became a stark reality. Driven by desperation and determination, Ananta made a bold choice. They would leave their research vessel behind, to try and make it to the closest populated landmass, braving dangerous seas and the constant threat of more snake attacks. Securing Kadita in the small rubber dinghy, they set off on an arduous trek, driven by pure willpower and the deep connection of friendship that united them. They maneuvered through complex coral systems and against challenging currents, their muscles aching from the effort and their focus unwaveringly on the mission to reach safety in time. Occasionally, sea snakes appeared, their sleek bodies slicing through the water, a constant reminder of the risks that loomed. Despite everything, Ananta and Jambavan's resolve did not waver. Their spirits were bolstered by an unyielding resolve and a deep-seated passion for the sea that had initially brought them together. Finally, as despair almost took hold, their eyes caught the glimmering beaches of a far-off island, a ray of hope amidst the endless ocean. Energized for one last effort, they steered the raft toward the land, their spirits soaring with relief and thankfulness as they stepped onto the firm ground. Through the tireless efforts of Ananta and Jambavan, administering makeshift first aid and pressure wraps, they managed to slow the spread of the venom long enough to reach the safety of the nearby island. Once there, their resourcefulness and Kadita's inner strength enabled her to fight off the effects of the deadly toxins until proper medical attention could be secured. Though the road to recovery was arduous, Kadita's indomitable spirit, coupled with the steadfast support of her friends, ultimately allowed her to overcome the evil attack, emerging from the ordeal with a renewed appreciation for life and a deeper bond with those who risked everything to save her. In the following days, while waiting for rescue and caring for Kadita's recovery, the trio pondered the difficult journey they had survived. The sea snakes, once admired for their grace and beauty, now stood as a stark reminder of the sea's immense force and the delicate nature of human life against the backdrop of nature's sheer power. Yet, through this ordeal, their bond had become more robust, surpassing the limits of scientific endeavor and knitting them together in an unyielding connection of camaraderie and deep respect for the natural world they had committed to safeguarding. A rescue crew swiftly evacuated the trio efficiently, ensuring Kadita received the necessary medical attention while safely transporting the weary but resilient scientists back to the mainland. As they left the Wakatobi archipelago behind, their hearts were filled with the lessons of their ordeal, but lifted by a renewed zest for life, realizing that their purpose had evolved. They were no longer just onlookers, but protectors of the mysterious and magnificent domain beneath the waves, a domain that called for respect, humility, and a steadfast dedication to maintaining its fragile equilibrium for future generations. In the bright, clear waters of the Mediterranean, where ancient empires blossomed and the vast blue sea softly narrated stories of escapades, a group of wealthy adventurers began a journey that would forever imprint an unforgettable terror in their minds. The year was 2015, and the opulent yacht Andromeda had embarked from the lavish coastlines of Monaco, filled with guests looking forward to experiencing the zenith of aquatic opulence. The ship was expertly led by Kazuhiro Tanaka, a highly experienced captain whose staunch professionalism and vast knowledge of maritime environments had made him renowned as one of the most skilled sailors in the area. His dependable crew members Satya Narayan and Aisha Al-Badawi supported him, each contributing their distinct expertise and backgrounds to ensure an impeccable trip. The initial days of the expedition were everything the affluent guests had dreamed of, who reveled in unparalleled luxury while the Andromeda smoothly sailed across the shimmering seas. The finest meals, extravagant comforts, and stunning scenery were everyday luxuries, making the hassles of daily life seem a world away. However, as they traveled further into the Mediterranean's core, the low murmur of an impending storm grew increasingly insistent. Despite Kazuhiro's constant vigilance and efforts to track the changing weather conditions, they were still waiting for something to prepare them for the storm about to strike entirely. Within hours, the once calm ocean became a tumultuous battleground of towering waves and fierce winds as a severe storm system descended on Andromeda with unstoppable intensity. The yacht was battered by the ferocious elements, its elegant structure ill-equipped to withstand the savage forces of the natural world. Despite Kazuhiro's valiant attempts to steer through the storm, a sudden, monstrous wave crashed into the Andromeda with devastating force. breaching its hull and leaving the yacht disabled and adrift amidst the violent storm. As the storm unleashed its fury, crew and guests frantically worked to evaluate the destruction and salvage what remained of their once lavish haven. Satya and Aisha devoted themselves entirely to mending the damage and sustaining the yacht's buoyancy as the guests sought refuge inside, their visions of opulence replaced by the harsh truth of survival. During the raging storm, the crew and passengers focused solely on weathering the tumultuous seas and keeping Andromeda afloat. Little did they know this bout with the unforgiving elements was merely a precursor to an even more terrifying ordeal that awaited them. As they grappled with the fierce winds and crashing waves, they remained blissfully unaware of a lethal predator lurking beneath, a massive tiger shark that would soon emerge to stalk and attack their crippled vessel relentlessly. Initially, the shark's existence was barely noticeable, seen only as a quick shadow or a momentary glimpse of its dorsal fin cutting through the water. However, with each passing hour it became more daring and hostile, as though it recognized the vulnerability of those on board. Kazuhiro, seasoned by numerous sea journeys, was well aware of the deadly threat posed by the tiger shark. Determined, he had his crew start repairing the Andromeda, hoping to regain sufficient operational status to escape safety before the shark attacked. But the shark had different intentions. In a terrifying instant, as Satya examined the hull from the side, the colossal creature leaped from the water, its wide-open jaws filled with sharp teeth just inches from his face. It was only Satya's quick reaction and Aisha's timely intervention that spared his life. Yet the message was unmistakable. The shark had identified them as targets, and it wouldn't stop until it had claimed a victim. From that moment, a tangible fear enveloped Andromeda, as the survivors realized they were caught in a drifting jail, encased by the same waters that had once signified luxury and freedom. Knowing that time was of the essence, Kazuhiro recognized that the likelihood of another attack increased with each hour. In a last effort to save everyone, he planned a risky escape. They would construct a makeshift raft from what remained of the yacht's supplies and attempt to reach the nearest coast, facing the dangerous waters and the constant threat of the shark. As the crew and passengers hastily built their precarious escape route, the shark maintained its vigilant patrol around Andromeda, a quiet, lethal guardian. Anxiety was high, and any slight water movement caused fear among the group. Finally, when it was time to act, with hopes whispered under their breath, the survivors set their raft into the turbulent sea. Kazuhiro, Satya, and Aisha led the way, applying their collective knowledge to steer through the dangerous waves. At the same time, the passengers held onto the raft's edges, their fates now depending on the courage and skills of the crew. After an endless journey, they were adrift in the vast Mediterranean Sea. The sea's waves consistently battered their ramshackle boat, while the ever-present danger of the shark kept them on edge. The shark would occasionally charge at them, its enormous body momentarily blocking the sunlight and its gaping jaws threatening doom, only to change course at the last second as if teasing its prey. Despite these harrowing circumstances, the survivors found strength in their unity, developing an indestructible camaraderie that ignored the divisions of wealth and social hierarchy. They transformed from a group of strangers comprising passengers and crew to a cohesive unit fighting for survival against an indifferent natural adversary. As their situation grew more desperate and their supplies dwindled, salvation appeared like a distant rocky island. Despite facing a harsh climate and the relentless pursuit of a predator, their energy waned and their will was tested. Yet, these hardships strengthened their bond of friendship. They supported each other, shared stories from their past, and found joy in the simple pleasure of companionship on this unpredictable journey. This barren refuge promised them a temporary escape from the relentless threat of the shark. With one last push, they urged the raft to the land, their pulses racing with relief and apprehension as they stood on firm ground again. In the subsequent days, while waiting for rescue and nursing their injuries, both mental and physical, the survivors thought back on the severe test they had survived. The tiger shark, previously an emblem of grandeur and wonder, now stood as a testament to the harsh power of nature. a stark reminder that the raw elements of the wilderness remain untamed, even amidst the most opulent environments. For Kazuhiro, Satya, and Aisha, this ordeal had created an indestructible connection, an agreement on the precariousness of existence and the critical need for readiness against difficulty. For those once indulged travelers, this experience taught a profound lesson in what resilience truly means and the significance of unity among humans when confronted with insurmountable challenges. As they departed from the Mediterranean, their hearts were laden with the heaviness of their ordeal, yet lifted by a renewed sense of life's value. They recognized that their voyage was far more than a mere luxury yacht excursion disrupted. It was an intense journey into the essence of human persistence, a celebration of the unbeatable human spirit, and a notice that even in the grimmest times, the desire to live can overcome the most formidable enemies.